No. No, too soon. Yes, Ani knows this. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but is it okay? Not Zoom. Yeah, no, it's showing a Zoom is showing here, but now it's stuck. It's paused. It's playing. Oh yeah, yeah. Go back to Zoom. Back, or what? Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Uh, yeah. I think Ani knows that. Yeah. Ani knows. We know that. No, it's done now. Yeah, to display YouTube. Display on YouTube. Live, YouTube live. You know, last time didn't do that. Yeah, last time. Is that what you mean? No. Broadcasting a Zoom at the same time live on YouTube.
No.
You didn't do? I think later this need later.
How do you do that?
There's
Will you show me sometime?
yeah.
Still 2 more time, 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Not so sure. I'm sure then
Oh, Baila, Baila. Baila, Mama yo, Nye debdi kush, Pecha tlash, Nye junjuk di inji dang, Beg, Ni kachen shayo dejuk. And this Manjushri, yeah, Manjushri. Okay. So we did this prayer to Manjushri. Meditate upon Manjushri in one's own ground and granting the blessing of wisdom or to improve our intelligence with that kind of meditation. Read this and recite the mantra of Manjushri. Lama Dangumbo Jambala Yangla Chanzo Lo Kangi Londre Jinyen Tenda Nidra Nanda Rosa Jinyen Tengen Jijin Sijir Nidji Tugara Lekbam Zen Kanda Sipi Tsundara Mari Mendum Dunga Jizrewe Rozo Kumla Pujin Tabzi Yen Lai Tu Ju Yang Den Zon Du Daren Je Dro Nyemo Nyino Leje Cha Dro Ndo Ze Je Mare Menze Dunga Nyugo Jinyen Jenze Ralte Nam Denen Da Jin Sa Ju Taze Yenden Lezo Jazen Tuwe Go Chu Chan Chu Chunyin Jinde Dale Minze Jamba Yonglai De Marapazana 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 Arapazana, Deo Marapazana, 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 Arapazana, De, Zeden, Jiji, General, Zenji, Dalit, Imam, Barazan, Kadan, Denji, Jonlo, Dubai, Lodge Bobby no one Zandu Jingo, Ridanjimur Janzi Chada, Kadin Sonda Majipa, Palo Jinji Jabeja, Jindu Jima Mevala, Guera do today, Bazunga Bajimbe Bon and John, the Shinjo Zujio, Joan and Zara, Damje do Jijas was in Branza Duzo, Kangisha Zanzo, Mimon Zimbenon. Sembeze Zendrum Barvendo Kun Migin the Zenjur, Dujedama Kunejurin Jitins of Jikunjab, Tuambe Mogar Beja Bedirin Dalim Zorojon, Gentolim Bementombo Zeren, Javin and Doranshun and Jendu, Sensu Benji, then Chumbarvi, Pemanjone and Dali in Zorojon, Gumbulodari and Devadan, Tomanian Chulanchi Jida, Janam Yebozo, Zalin Jinjo Nanjinda Ejon. The Garin Bekulo and Duncan Junga Vishas are the one you beat as a baby and Anjurba. Launching Ramjam Shaji Daejon. Kongidala Ribalavadan, Dujitan Jamiman Lazo, Lavazadan, Grishalambi, Mujitin Jelamin Daejon, Namanguru, Jinipamid, the Jezala Kunjaranju, the Jimbetin, the Jigala Mendanawa. Walden Lami Jaji Daishon, Yende Sanje Kundanyanaya, Kadin Sanje Kunela Bigan, Savilami Jalaswande, Nosundu Lamna Chela, Anjur, Konda Jujur Dongi Jidena, the Jelamar Jirba Consuda, Tinder Dambi Ginger Baby, Simbaran de Banda Dan de Jiji, Namoria Tamba, like a Dan Ludan Jinge, to whom the Dame Ganam, Wakunjidanam Jizambar. Amje ke do so sur te jurji manjurndo ana kada nyambe semjen thamje namdo tingi dewal aname ba yando ba zo bi sanji jingo horin berchela chine jam go brasha e chelo teba chembe shonglo chanju simbi chobalan juba deni tsushin do sene nyamzo lawar jo nyamdo samba chanju chotu tuje balan chede sensal so So the first that we need to have this right motivations for enter into this meritorious activity of teaching and listening Dharma, and in order to have this right motivation, it is generating a vacant mind is the one called the right motivation that we need to generate in this way, starting from one's dearest, for example, like mother, who had been kind of like a great, for great kind to us and each and every individual who ever have a mother, and more or less that she have been done. It's most of us, all those for great kindness, and even though not all of them, but at least 3, and 2 is for sure whoever at the moment survive. So therefore, that kind of great kind that in order to repay back their kind, the best way is to kind of like help them to free from cause of suffering and the suffering of cyclic existence. And if anyone able to repay kind back in this way, and then that's the best way of paying kindness back to one's dearest. Example like mothers who have been great kind to each and every individual, whoever, what to say, right now and survive. So, and then to have a same sense towards every other sentient beings equal to his space, and in order to lead them to liberation and enlightenment, and then to kind of like free them from cause of suffering and the suffering of cyclic existence. For that purpose, I'm going to listening this Mahayana scripture, which is composed by Shantideva, the way of Bodhisattva's life. And then whatever I understand, I will try my best to put into practice for the sake of others, to lead them to complete enlightenment. Just simply generating that kind of mind within oneself, and that makes the right motivations, and that also influence all this our meritorious activities, transform into the Mahayana path, which means that when it becomes a Mahayana path, then that exactly becomes the cause of enlightenment. And that is very important in order to make it that all this activity the cause of enlightenment. And without this kind of mind, and no matter whatever we do, what to say, that even we practice, we meditate, and that any kind of activities, it is all cannot transform or cannot become the cause of enlightenment. So therefore, however, the more or less kind of like having that kind of intention at the beginning, it's always potential, and it is always kind of like a very necessary if one wants to transform our activity into the cause of enlightenment. And beside that, the manner of the way of listening Dharma teaching, then there's kind of like a focus one's ear on the voice of teaching, and then listen carefully in an excellent way. Yeah, listen carefully in an excellent way, and then try to hold it. That the excellent way is not mixing with any kind of emotions while listening Dharma teachings, and some sort of like a jealousy, hatred, and ignorant, pride, and then desire, attachment, any kind of those emotions. Try to kind of like just let it be free at the moment. Completely try to focus one's mind into the teaching and then its meaning. And then beside the meaning, and then if you are still capable, then try to memorize the word which is describing the meaning. So try one's best and completely, focus one's all the three doors, and particularly the mind, into the teaching. And that's how you should listen Dharma teachings. While listening Dharma teaching, that's how should be the conduct or the manner. That's the kind of like a preliminary, and always prepare in this way, and any kind of meritorious activity. And then the actual Dharma teaching. So the actual Dharma teaching, let me tell you this one few advice that which is given by Guru Padmasambhava. Actually, these advice are kind of like he was given in Tibet, that is towards his followers. That what he says like Pemrik Madal Chula Nyenshi Jis. And that's now what he's saying is that Pemrik is like this, our physical body, and Rik is the mind. And the while this physical body and mind is not separated, means while this two is together, at that time, what you should do is to listen Dharma and then to share and teach the Dharma. And this kind of activity you should engage. That's what he's saying. Pemrik Madra Chula Nyenshe Jis. And likewise, he also said, Naso Shendu Tamche Remla Ji, and Gene Chendu Chungwe Chimbar Kas, that this what is mean Naso. Naso means the our kind of like the age. Naso Shendu means while our age or our age is youth, the Shen is youth, young. While we are young, kind of like capable to do everything by our own, and Naso Shendu Tamshirama. At that moment, you should practice this sacred Dharma. Remlagi means you should put effort and try hard to practice this sacred Dharma. Gene Chendu Chungwe Chubarkas means that the Gene means Ge is the old age. Gene Chendu Chungwe. And when we become old, although we wish to do it, this sacred Dharma practice, but at that moment, it is so difficult to able to control and able to follow exactly as instruction. So that's how he advising. So these are very important. I think that basically this youth, it's good for both actually. The youth is the one, it is very capable to do the sacred Dharma practice as accordance with its instructions, and as well as youth is also capable to do all the mundane things as well. So that's why I'm saying both. So the fact is the youth is the one that whatever we do, it is very effective, that we can do it in a very kind of like accordance with it. And then when we get old, it is not only the Dharma, sacred Dharma practice, but also the mundane. We won't be able to do it as how it's supposed to do. That's natural. So, and then beside that, and then kind of like doing mundane and what we can achieve, and then doing sacred Dharma practice, what we can achieve. So be little wise and then understand and kind of like look far, and then one should try one's best to practice this sacred Dharma and spend more time, as much as we can spend the time of our life into the Dharma activities. And that is kind of like based on many those great scholars' advice, great realized masters' advice, and then also through our intelligence, we can also see it, we can understand it. And then historically, it's already proved it. So there's no kind of like a failure to follow those instructions, that it is saying there's nothing such a reliable than the sacred Dharma at all in this universe. So for the being, in order to have a kind of like a successful life, and in order to have a kind of like a peace and happy for the temporary and for the ultimate, both. So this old worldly things and cannot really provide both, like a temporary success happy and ultimate happy cannot be provided. But the sacred Dharma has this power that can be produced both for the temporarily happy and then the ultimate as well. So therefore, however, that we should try our best to spend and put effort to do more on the Dharma side, and rather than spending our time in mundane. So that's the fact that we should try our best. And that's what I just want to tell you. And then also that since right now, at this moment, we have this obtain the precious human rebirth, which has all these conditions and capable and then favorable conditions are gathered right now at this moment. So we should try our best to utilize it kind of like properly. So that's what I just want to tell you one thing. And then the actual teaching now here, it's the way of Bodhisattva's life, which has this 10 chapter and four theme, which is to first 3 chapter is explaining and introducing how one should generate the bodhicitta and how one should receive the bodhisattva's vow. And then the second theme is kind of like a guided by with this 4th, 5th, and 6th 3 chapters, that after receive this, generate this bodhicitta and receive bodhisattva's vow, and how to maintain kind of like without transgressions, how to maintain within oneself, and then also instructed that if one transgress, how to repair, how to kind of like modify it. And then the next third theme is the 7th, 8th, and 9th chapter, and not to just to maintain the bodhicitta and bodhisattva's vow, but further how one can develop and improve all of this. And within that once we completely improve this bodhicitta, which means they achieve the stage of enlightenment. So purpose of this path is complete. That is our destiny. So, and then after that, the 4th theme is to dedicating the merit. And so this in 10th chapter is the dedication merit, that within this dedication merit, it's also tell us how to dedicate and how to make aspirations properly. All those instructions are within that 10th chapter. So, however, that whole complete path of Mahayana, it's instructed and guided within these scriptures. So this scripture is actually considering as one of the very important scriptures which can teach us, or which can lead us the whole complete path of the Mahayana, that anyone who have an interested to in practice spiritual, the Mahayana spiritual path. So this book is kind of like a very much sufficient to in order to practice that. Anyway, so we are right now at the moment is the 2nd theme, which is that how to maintain properly without transgressing our bodhisattva's vow. So to that, and then this 4th and 5th chapters are in order to maintain what we need is the sense of carefulness, and then the what you call a vigilant and introspection, and then patience. So these are the main 3 key points. Whoever have very stable of these 3, whoever have very familiar on these 3 practice, and those person can maintain this bodhisattva's vow properly. That's what, in order to maintain properly, this is what we need. And then among these 3, 2 of them we completed, and then now we are in the 3rd, how to kind of have a patience within oneself. And then most important part, how to have a patience, the kind of like the already explained until this 51st stanza, that which we completed. That in this within this chapter of patience, that firstly it describing the fault of anger, what anger can bring consequences to oneself for temporarily and for a future, for an ultimate, or for the future. And then in order to remove that kind of fault, which is bringing within oneself by anger, then what we need to understand is first we need to understand the situations that when normally human beings, or the generally every being, but particularly the human being who are getting angry during those 4 type of situations, as we described that is introducing at the 11th stanza of this chapter. At that time, the pain, humiliation, insult, and rebuke, and those are the 4 situations when occur to oneself. At that moment, or the humiliation, sometimes we use disdain, right? And then the insult, sometimes we use dunga, and the harsh word. And then rebuke, sometimes we use like hearing unpleasant messages or words that which we dislike to hear it. So anyway, so in English, that in Tibetan we use this one. The 4 situations are suffer, dungal, and disdain, nyedang, and tsiktsuk, harsh word, and then minyan, that not unpleasant hearing, kind of like a directly, indirectly, all this includes. So when we face or occur any of these 4 situations to oneself, and at that moment we get short temper, we get kind of like agitated. Our mind will going to be agitated out of these 4 situations. And likewise, in a similar way, and when this kind of 4 situations happens to one's own dearest, or one's own parent, or one's own boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, or family, whatsoever, relative, friends, at that moment, we also get short temper. We also get anger. And then now the reverse. The reverse means the reverse of suffering is pleasant, happy. And then reverse of disdain is kind of like getting help, right? Getting help from others. And reverse from insult or the harsh word means kind of like the treating, or treating with them kind of like a pleasant word. And then the reverse of the unpleasant hearing is the pleasant hear. So reverse of these 4 situations, when it happened or occurred to my enemy or the foe, that the person who I dislike, when this 4 reverse one happened to them, then that time I also get short temper, for instance, right? I also get short temper. That's kind of like I'm talking about the normal human being, how they behave, how they deal with those situations. And then these are here Shantideva introducing. So in order to practice patience, we must understand these situations very clearly, because these are the situations when occurs to oneself and to the one's relative and to the reversely to the one's foe. At that moment, we get short temper, we get anger. So, and then kind of like so among these 4 circumstances, 4 situations, the first one, which is suffer or the pain, which is the most difficultiest to deal among these four situations, because it is not just mentally hurt, it is also physically hurt. Both mentally and physically get hurt by these first circumstances. So therefore, this first circumstances or the first situation is the hardest to control or the deal with it. So therefore, until now, this within this mainly three ideas, that patient of undertaking the pain, and then patient of certainty in dharma, and then the patient of not caring about harm-doers. And each of those category within that, and Shantideva already instructed many different skills, methods, how to have those types of patience within oneself, how one can have the patience of undertaking pain, and how to have a patience of the certainty in dharma, based on a certainty in dharma, how one can have a patience, and then how to have a patience kind of like about not carrying harm-doers. So until now, these are the main three categories that Shantideva provides. And this is also the main skills or the main idea of this chapter, the 6th chapter. So once anyone who able to understand these ideas, skills clearly, properly, and able to apply these skills, then which means it helps us to deal with this first situation, which is the hardest one among the four situations. And then if anyone able to control this one, then rest of the other three situations, these are not really difficult compared with this. So therefore, main kind of like a core skills or idea, it's actually of this chapter is actually completed. It's already introduced it already. And then now, now the next one, now it is from this stanza 52. From stanza 52 to stanza 63, that almost 10 stanza. This 10 stanza, mainly what it is talking about is that when pain is gone now, when humiliation and insult and rebuke, and sometimes they later they translated scorn and hostile words and comment that I do not like to hear. So these three situations, right? Either we call this way the scorn, hostile word, and comment that I do not like to hear, or kind of like a as in the stanza 11 they described, like a humiliation, insult, and rebuke. Or normally what I am saying based on this Tibetan, literally if I translate, disdain and harsh word, and then unpleasant to hear. So when we occur these three type of situations, and how to think and how to practice patience, and this is what it is talking about. This is all based on a self. Okay, when except then the pain is gone. When occur pain situation, how to think, and then how to have a patient, it's already done until this stanza 51. Now from here 52 to 63, almost this 10 chapter, right? Isn't it 10 or 11 chapter? So mainly it's talking about when another three type of situation occur to oneself, and how one should think, how one should react, and how one should practice patience. It is talking about. So keep that in your mind. So mainly this, until this stanza 63, it's all about this. And then how it is talking from here now. So yini luchen main be sukyang gangdong shominu lula ngambara shembe na luni dungal dagi ne nye dang tsik mawa da minyen pai tsik de yi lula hebar mikuna semkyu chi chi rap to chos. So because the mind is bodiless, it cannot be destroyed by anyone. Because of mind's attachment to the body, this body oppressed by pain. Scorn and hostile words and comments that I do not like to hear. My body is not harmed by them. What reason do you have, O mind, for your resentment? This is one method, one idea, skill. This is actually very common, generally in a human beings. This idea is given often to everywhere, actually, isn't it? So what does the first stanza is saying? First stanza, the fact this our mind is bodiless. Yes, it is formless. There's no form. There's no such a object that can pinpoint and then someone can destroy that. There's nothing. That mind cannot be destroyed and harmed by anyone. But because of our mind attached to this body, that thinking, this is me. Therefore, and then this body is kind of like getting harmed by others. This is one very important message is given here by Shantideva. The fact, if we able to eliminate this attachment towards this body, the fact it is saying, even this body, you have said that you will never going to get harm, even kind of like even occur some sort of like the wound or bitten by others. So therefore, this is one very important message, that this is a little bit hard to believe as well from our human concept. But the fact is that it is also saying, what it means, those arhat who eliminate completely their ignorance and attachment. And those arhat, and they completely abandoned already the suffer of death, and then suffer of ill, sickness, and then the suffer of old age. The fact they already removed from its root. So kind of like that's the one important message it's given here, that when our body gets hurt or wounded by someone else or whatsoever situations, and then we feel pain and suffer because the mind is attaching this body is mine. Therefore, this harm, this suffer, pain could possible. The fact, if we able to remove this attachment, and then even though those occur, not really pain, suffer will going to be occur. That's what it means. One this stanza also showing that indirectly that instructions. But here, why he using this one is, okay, body is some sort of like our mind is attached to this body. Therefore, when someone harmed or wounded to it, and we may feel pain because there is some object or pinpoint that someone can destroy, someone can wound, or someone can hurt. But the mind is such a actually bodiless. So therefore, those three types of situations, which are scrown, here they translate it different. Scrown and hostile words and the comments that I do not like to hear, right? Comment that I do not like to hear. But in Tibetan, they're using the same word as in stanza 11. The word and those kind of like humiliations, insult, and rebuke, harsh word and unpleasant to hear, and disdain, or kind of like a scorn, slander, scorn. So those three things, my body is not harmed by them. This is really true. Body cannot harm by these three situations. Body only can harm to our body, only can harm by the first situation, and which Shantideva already give an idea to how to pay a patient. Now, other three situations, actually, it is not really hurting your body directly. It is kind of like the mental disturbance now. The fact is mental disturbance. It can disturb our mind. The fact it cannot disturb our body. It cannot kind of like directly harmed. My body is not harmed by them. So since what reason then do you have? If really these three situations not harming our body, then what reason do you have, O mind, for your resentment to these three situations, these three circumstances? That's what it means. This idea is normally we talk too. When someone say bad word, and then when some of our friends get hurt, we just say, oh, why are you making big deal? So it just ignore. The word doesn't have an arrow. We used to say that, isn't it? This same idea here, Shantideva. This is very simple advice, actually. It is so. From this, I don't think there's such a very difficult to understand. This advice skills are easy to understand. This is normally we talk too. For instance, like this, just what I said. That word doesn't have an arrow. So why are you making big deal? Just ignore, just let it be, forget it. We normally say that, right? So this is exactly the idea what Shantideva was saying. This first skill is this one. But when we say that, and people raise another question, therefore he also goes based on our human doubt, what will going to be happen if we say it this way. And then what we will going to respond back is the next skill, with the next skill, that what we will going to respond. No, sorry. It still, Shantideva, keep continuing going. It doesn't bother anything. Why are you making big deal out of it? The Shenda Dala Mingawa, Teni Tse Diam Tse Shenla. Dala Sawar Mijena, Dani Chichir Demi Deus. Nipi Parshil Chebichil Kalde Dida Medena. Dagi Nipa Didorji Digbadani Temper Ne. That's so next the what do you call it? The 55 stanza. That's the really question that we will going to raise if someone says that, right? For instance, word doesn't have a arrow. Why are you making big deal out of it? And then they will going to explain. No, actually, word doesn't have. I know that, but blah, 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 blah. There's a but, and then a lot of explanation, a lot of reason you will going to create it. So that reason, it is the Shantideva exactly saying this next one. The enmity that others show me, since in this or future lives, it cannot actually devour me. Why should I be averse to it? This is with a question mark, right? Why do we averse to it? Why we dislike it? Why don't you just and let it be, or just accept it, or just forget it? And then we will going to respond in this way. Perhaps I turned from it because it hinders me from having what I want. That's exactly the answer we will going to say it. Because of, if I don't respond to that person, if I kind of like don't get mad and anger when someone create these three types of situations to myself, then I may lose my reputations, or my how to say, there's some sort of like that when some gain, some sort of like gain, I may lose gaining, I may lose my reputations and all these things, that it hinders me from having what I want. And then to that, the answer is, that's how they translate it in this English. But all my property, actually should be all my gain, but all my gain I will leave behind, while sins will keep me steady company. So this is one interesting thing, interesting advice, the idea that the 54 stanza and Shantideva keep continue saying that the getting dislike from others to oneself, it doesn't really hurt or disturbs my this life and my future life. So why you making this big deal, or why you making this is something I really dislike? There's not such a reason for you to make it this big deal and not make it this dislike. But, and then the answer which we were going to say is that, oh, it is not that case. If I didn't get it anger, and then if I don't respond, then these three situations will going to hinders or obscuring or obstructing my gain. It is disturbing my gain. Therefore, I dislike these three situations. If you say so, this is now, if you say so in this way, if you respond in this way, then if you think this way, this is something, if you think it is proper to get anger with this rest of other three situations when someone creates to myself, if you say so, if you think so, then you should contemplate in this meaning. You should calm down and focus on this meaning, which is that although that I get anger towards, how to say, I get anger towards these three types of situations when it occurs to myself, and then respond, and then remove that obscurations, and then gain whatever I supposed to. Let's say I gain it. But what it is, what Shantideva was really letting us to think and contemplate is, but whatever you gain, the fact, it really kind of like the not going to be remain within yourself so long. And then at the end of the day, it's for sure none of this gain we can carry with ourselves, for sure, 100%. But not only the death, but also that whatever the gain, that what the, for instance, I gain some pleasure at the moment, and this pleasant or pleasure will going to be not remain. For sure, tomorrow, this pleasant will not going to be there, ever. So not just tomorrow, but within today, it will going to disappear. And likewise, many things are like that. But all this pleasant gain whatsoever, at the end of the day, yeah, that goes without saying, no doubt. And there's no choice, we must leave behind all of them, no matter, regardless. But even in a temporarily, we won't be able to keep it continuously, for sure. So that's what it's saying. The dorjis, that the, what do you call it? But all my gain, I will leave behind. That's how they translate it. While sins will keep me steady company. But on the other hand, and in order to gain this kind of like a temporarily pleasant and the happy or whatsoever, the wealth, property, whatsoever, for that purpose, we try to fight with these three type of situations. And then when we fighting with these three type of situations, and we get short temper, we get anger. By getting anger, through anger, what we created the sins or non-virtuous actions, karma, negative karma, that those negative karmas will going to keep me steady company, isn't it now? That we, how to say, we may can gain some wealth, pleasant, whatsoever, by responding out of our anger to these three situations. But on the other hand, out of this anger, reacting with these three situations creates the bad karmas at the same time. While we gaining at the same time, it is also creating the bad karma. So what Shantideva was really saying is, if you really contemplate and compare what you really gaining, that we're gaining both of this. We're gaining negative karma, at the same time we're gaining the temporary wealth and money or finance or pleasant or whatsoever, gaining both. But he is trying to letting us compare within those two gain, that what you're really achieving, and then see it is really worth to sacrifice this for this purpose or not. That's how Shantideva was kind of like trying to letting us contemplate, think, scrutinize, and then the kind of like let us make an option or the choice that whether I should get anger towards those three type of situations or not. Normally we say that, isn't it? We will definitely say that. Yeah, the fact these three situations doesn't have any physical kind of like an arrow or knife or bullet or weapons whatsoever, but it hinders what I want. It disturbs my wish to fulfill. Therefore, I am getting short temper, I'm getting anger and responding. If you say so, then all this gaining will going to be not remaining within oneself. It will going to be very short temper, temporarily. And even not, but within this, when we die, for sure, 100%, it will going to be fate. We have to leave behind. But for that purpose, what we created negative karma, that will going to be very stable within oneself, like a shadow. Like a shadow that wherever we goes, and it will comes after oneself until it gives fruitions completely. That's what it means. So that's the another skills, another way that he's letting us contemplate and then think whether it is proper to get anger towards those three types of situations or not, and then make it choice. That's the another one skill. And then now from here, the Dani tengit shian lai lochu yuring sun mirung. Dada yuring ne gyurjang chiwi dungal tengit yin. Milam loger denyone sebar gyurba kain dang. Shen shi yuzam denyone sebar gyurba kain ba. Seba ndida niga la dewatini chirwo me. Tsering tsetung niga yang chiwi tusu tender se. Nyeba mambo top gyurde yuring tusu teche kyang. Chumbu chokba njishindu demo laba tongbar rose. So now this stanza 56, 7 and 58. Yeah, 56, 7 and 58. Isn't it? 56. Right, 56, 7, 8 and 9. Yeah, those four stanza. Those four stanza is showing the one meaning. That what it is showing is, first let me read this translation. Better far for me to die today than live a long and evil life. However long the days of those like me, the pain of dying will be all the same. And then one man, so this is an example, how it is same. He's using this an example, the next stanza. The one man dreams he lives 100 years of happiness by, let's say, utilizing all those desirable objects like those five senses. And then on the other hand, some man, another man, dreams an instant happiness or joy. But then he likewise awake. So both are awake, one awake after 100 years and then another awake instantly. But within those dreams, both have this same joy and happiness by utilizing all those desirable objects. And when they wake, this is example, right? When they awake, the happiness of both, that person who experienced 100 years and then another one is just instant, is finished, never return. Yeah, it is finished. And likewise, when the hour of death comes around, our life are over, whether brief or long, doesn't matter. Though we be rich in worldly goods, delighting in our wealth for many years, despoiled and stripped as though by thieves, we must go naked and with the empty hands. Naked and with the empty hands. So kind of like that's now the, how to say, the 57 and 58 is example, and 59 the what do you call is the actual meaning. So these are not so difficult to understand. From here, the main one point is here. What we need to understand is here it's showing the evil life. Yeah, so the 56 stanza, look at into 56 stanza. It is saying, better far for me to die today than live a long and evil life. So the evil life, in Tibetan we used to say lokso. The lokso, they translated evil life. Maybe also another word is better, kind of like a wrong livelihood. Wrong livelihood or wrong surviving. So the wrong surviving. So now that's what it means. Here, mainly here, wrong survive. It's regards with the anger. So someone try to survive and live their life with the dealing, kind of like out of anger, dealing with those three types of situations: when someone disdain or humiliated to oneself, and out of anger responding back, and they thinking, if I don't, and I will not going to be survive well. For my survive, I need to, I have to protect. In order to protect myself, and I need to deal with someone who create humiliating to me. And then to create to deal with it, and then we generally, people who doesn't have these ideas of patience, or generally that we might thinking that anger is requirement. I need to deal with the out of anger. So with the anger, then I should respond. Then I can get rid of this. I can solve this problem. That's normally what we think, right? So this way of kind of like doing this, how to say, responding or dealing with the situations when occurring to oneself through this way and surviving our life, that's the call the evil life, or the wrong survive, or wrong livelihood, let's say. And rather than living long in this way, that what Shantideva was saying, better far for me to die today. That's what it means. Better far for me to die today than live a long evil life like that. Always dealing with those situations, and then kind of like try to gaining something out of dealing with these situations. This is really happening in our mundane life. Yes, this is really happening day-to-day life, in a workplace, right? We get humiliated from others, we get disdain from others. Yeah, even in a high school and universe, or wheresoever, workplace, company, wheresoever, those seniors will going to be disdain to the new one. That's kind of like a, unfortunately, this is something like a become a very normal in this world. A fact, it is not normal, but we made it. This is something as it is. If you are new in a company, then you must undertake all the distance from the seniors. That kind of mental we have. Which is something very unfortunate that we need to set our mind in order to go to some company to work newly, and then like attend some new schools. Wherever in this world. So mainly Shantideva, what it is saying, like, it is Shantideva not saying that, oh, better far for me to die today than live alone. It's not like that. Live an evil life. Here they translated evil life, right? But what I am saying, lokcho in Tibetan, lokcho. Lok is the wrong, right? Wrong. Cho is survive, literally, if I translate. So wrong survive. Wrong survive means you are surviving with the emotion, that you are thinking these emotions, and particularly here regards to anger, will going to protect me. So I must have anger when someone creates this kind of three situations to oneself. Then I need to respond. In order to respond, I need anger, hate it. That kind of mindset, mental set, the settling our mind in this way, normal. Then we responding. And then surviving our life in this way, rather than surviving our life in this way, then better far for me to die today. This is what Shantideva was saying. However long the days of those like me, the pain of the dying will be all the same. Yeah. Doesn't matter how long I live, the suffer of the die is same. And then suffer of the die is how suffer of the die is same. Then he gave with these examples, right? He gave with this example. And then what you are responding out of anger for those purpose to gain all those materialistic wealth or whatsoever, position, promote, fame, reputation, whatsoever. At the end of the death, that they how they translated in the last stanza of this 59, we must go naked and with the empty hand. So here mainly this wrong survive here. Wrong survive I already described, but generally wrong survive, there are 5 different ways to gain something and then to survive oneself, one's life. Those are the 5 that whoever engaging into these 5 method, utilizing any of these 5 method to gain something and then survive your life, it's generally considering as a wrong survive. Here particularly, the wrong survive means kind of like a out of anger dealing with those situations and then remove all those hinders and then gain those material wealth, reputation, and then the whatsoever, and then survive, right? That's the wrong survive, mainly that one. But let me explain this. What are another 5 ways that normally human being utilized and try to survive out of those methods? Anyone who utilizing any of those 5 methods to survive, and that's the wrong survive. And then what Shantideva was saying, better far for me to die today. So let me explain those 5 methods. So it is the wrong survive. There's 5 ways, 5 different way or 5 different methods to utilize to survive. We normally do this our day-to-day life. Actually, this is not something very new. This is not something we don't know. We know all of those 5. Perhaps we are unable to summarize into those 5. Perhaps we are unable to recognize those as the method of wrong survive. This is it. It is something not completely new for us because we're utilizing this in our day-to-day life, within our life. So which are it is saying, kind of like I found some translations here. Let me count first. The first one is flattery. The flattery. And then second one is hypocrisy or pretender. Hypocrisy or pretender, same, right? Pretending or hypocrisy. And third one is trying to gain something by previous gain. Okay, first you just note it down, those 5 things. Try to gain something by previous gain. And then the fourth one is, they translated this solicit. solicit, S-O-L-I-C-I-T, solicit. That's how they translated it. And then the fifth one is hint by priests at one's desire for a gift. Kind of like a giving some hint, that's saying, kind of like indirectly saying, can you give me that, right? You're not really saying, can you give me that, but kind of like giving some hint so other understand that I'm begging or I'm asking. So you see now, these are not really completely new, right? This is what we're doing it. We need to contemplate now this. These are all generally considering as a wrong survive. But here, particularly wrong survive, it is mainly related with the anger. Utilizing your emotion, hatred and anger for your survive. And that is particularly here refers wrong surviving. Rather than surviving by utilizing these emotion for your survive, and then better far for me to die today. That's what Shanti was saying. But to understand this five is very good, because first the flattery, they translated flattery. It's in Tibetan, I think, kasak. Kasak is flattery. Is it flattery? That's something you kind of like in order to gain something, and then you say some nice word to the other. You kind of like how to say, kind of like you trick, right? You trick and you make him happy by your sweet word. Oh, you are such a good person. You are very generous. You are, oh, I don't know what to say. Like that, right? And say, that's the now first way. Oh, you are such a great, you are very generous, you are good person, by saying some sweet word to the others for the purpose to gain something from the others. That's wrong survive. If you survive your life with that, utilizing this method, then this is considering as a wrong survive. And likewise, hypocrisy is very easy to understand, right? Pretending. You are not really how you look like, but you are pretending I am. So let's say, for instance, for example, kind of like in order to gain from others, or for, let's say, in order, this is something we do this when we try to find the job. When we try to find the job, then we pretend we know everything. And the interview taker, the person who takes interview, and then if they ask you, we need to answer, oh, I know everything. Now this is really hypocrisy, pretending. That now, unfortunately, this world made it new normal. Everybody has to say it. If you don't say it, you fail to get the job. That's really unfortunate now. And then, for instance, to become a teacher, let's say, if you're finding teacher job in a school, and then some scriptures you may don't know, you may don't understand, but you pretend that, oh, I know this is scripture. I know how to teach this. That's hypocrisy. I'm just giving you an example, right? What does it mean, hypocrisy? And then to get that job and then survive, right? That's also wrong survive. And likewise, that's some sort of like you are not really, whatsoever. You are not really the person who you look like, but you're pretending I am such and such for my gain. So I can gain something, so I can survive my life. So these surviving by utilizing these methods, hypocrisy and flattery, are generally considering as a wrong survive. So better to be honest all the time, truthful, not really hypocrisy. But as I already told you, this unfortunately nowadays, this community, social, country, province, company force us to hypocrite, pretend. I don't know what to do, how we should act. So you see, as I told you, it is perhaps we are unable to categorize in this 5 way, or perhaps we are unable to recognize this as a wrong survive. But this is all not new. We understand that. We're doing it because we understand all this because we're doing it. So that's why I told you earlier. And then the third one is like trying to gain something by gain, right? In Tibetan we say nyepe nyetok, nyepe nyetsol, nyepe nyetsol, which means that particular some person who gave you already something before, right? And then kind of like this is something little bit like a flattery, but not exactly flattery. This all actually has a little similarity. But the nyepe nyetsol, this trying to gaining something out of gain by gaining is something that particular is some person who gave you already something. And then you are saying to him, oh, that such and such you gave me, it is very helpful. It is so good. It is very, when I have it, it makes all my life very easy. Kind of like a hinting. This is kind of like a hint, right, actually. Or nyepe nyetsol is also refers to you gave something to them and then trying to gaining something back. For that purpose, you are giving something to them. That is also considering nyepe nyetsol. Either way, this way, okay? So either you use the previous, that what you get from that particular person, and then you saying so and so, that helps me a lot, blah, 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 and then trying to get another one. Or you just give something to him so you can gain back later. That kind of hope. That normally kind of like in this mundane life, almost we do this, right? This is something exchanging, kind of like exchanging. And nowadays, sometimes if we don't careful, even in a dharma activities, we do that. There's some that kind of like a we're paying for teaching, and then some people thinking, oh, I paid it this already, so kind of like a for the purpose of gaining some teachings, paying it. So that kind of things. It is little, if you don't really careful, it is a little bit like that, right? But if we just considering as oh, there's a Dharma teaching, so yes, I should offer, then that's different. You see, mental. It is just by mental, it becomes different. So better to have that sense. Oh, there's Dharma teaching, so for Dharma, I should offer. This is it. No because of, don't adding so because. Forget about because. Just say, okay, this is it, I should offer. Like that. And then the fourth one is solicit. That's how they translate it. Does it mean solicit, Ani? Does it mean that in order to gain something to myself, I slandering someone, or I'm saying bad things about someone, so kind of like I push that person down, and then I jump myself up. This is really politics. Politics people does that very openly, but not just politics person. Even most of them kind of like a mundane way, we do that. Advertise. Oh, so then maybe not really right word to use it. But that's what I found it in my dictionary, solicit. That's how they translated this fourth one. But anyhow, so meaning I'm telling you here, that's what it means. We say thopjal, kind of like a thopjal means some sort of like a you are saying something bad about someone and then pressing him down and then trying to claim yourself up. Something like this is happening in our job place too, right? In order to get promote oneself. And then we kind of like talking some divisive talk or whatsoever to press it that those other person down, and then you can get promote. And then earn a lot of money and then survive. And this is also considering as a wrong survive in general, yes. And then the fifth one is hint by praise at one's desire for a gift. Yeah, that's easy. That is something we may do often in our day-to-day life. We hint someone that when I want something from that particular person, and then I may hint. It is not something, not saying that you cannot ask, right? You can ask. That's no problem. But kind of like I don't know what to say. Some people have this natural being very silly, saying very indirectly round and round, talking round and round and round. If you say direct, that's okay. So if the person wants, they give. They don't want, they don't give. Let's forget it. But for that purpose, kind of like taking so long to ask this one round and round and round and round. And then, for instance, you have a nice flower, la 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 la. Oh, I think if I have it, it will going to look very nice in my house. Like that way. And then gain that flower and then put it into your house and then enjoying, survive your life. That's the wrong survive too. See, in general. Okay, so anyway, so here I just talked this, it is side topic actually, but it is I told beside the side topic of this evil life, the wrong survive, the wrong livelihood. Generally that has this 5-1. Among the 5, this 4th one, which I told you, that saying bad things about other and then trying to gain something to oneself. That action is very much related with anger, isn't it? Anger. Out of this anger emotion, we may do this. We slander others and we say bad thing about others. And then try to gain something for oneself. But mainly, as I told you earlier here, mainly what Shantideva was trying to say is that when these 3 situations occur to oneself, and then dealing with the emotion, dealing with the utilizing emotion, anger, and then try to survive it oneself. And then what Shantideva was saying, And rather than surviving oneself in this way, then better far for me to die today. Because the pain of the dying, it's same whether you live long or short, doesn't matter. Given by this example, someone dreamed 100 years, live happy. Someone dreamed instant joy, and then wake up. And then all those happiness, it's faded and it will never going to return. Similar like that. And when we die, then whatever we enjoy out of this, whatever we enjoy or survive out of utilizing this anger emotion. So this is all like that. That's what he meant. That's how he want us to think and then contemplate, and then whether it is worth to respond with the anger towards these three types of emotions or not. That's the third skills method. And then the next one, now here again, kind of like we may use this excuse to say it. So if you say so, Kangi tendo dasumba tenit kalte nyamjurna dikpa pashi chebai sumba deko chishik jas. Now, this is related with the above idea. And if we may excuse in this way. Look, this 60th stanza. Perhaps I will claim, so we, they use we, there's no we. Or there's no I either. So in Tibetan both. But still it is better to use I, because this is all right now we're talking about based on a self, right? Based on a self, that when those rest of the other three situations occur to oneself, and how one should think and respond, and then practice patience rather than getting anger. That's mainly what it's talking about, right? Perhaps we will claim that by our wealth we live, I live, okay, rather than we. Perhaps I will claim that by our wealth I live, and living gather merit, dispensing evil. If you say so, that is the excuse we may going to give, right? Why I want to survive by utilizing all this anger in this way? Because if I am survive, then I may can kind of like purified all my negative, and then I can accumulate the merit. Therefore, I must survive. If you say so, right? If you say so. But if we are aggressive for the sake of profit, won't our gain be evil or our merit loss? Question mark. Sometimes these translations made it a little bit more complicated. That's what I feel, okay? I don't know what you feel. When I read this is very easy word in Tibetan, actually. Not really difficult to understand. I don't know how you're understanding by this, just by reading. It is very simple to understand.
It is.
It is?
Right.
Okay, good. So it's very easy to understand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But if we are aggressive for the sake of profit, won't our gain be evil, all our merit loss, isn't it? And if the aim for which we live, is thereby wasted and undone, what use is there in living thus when evil is the only consequences. So now this skill, this method, these two stanzas showing one idea, it is kind of like a neglecting, forbidding people who may use excuse for their survival. Let's say I should use this anger to deal with this three type of situations when occur to myself, so I can survive myself well. And if I survive myself well, then I can purify my bad karma and I can accumulate the merit. If you say so, just by doing it, isn't it you are really doing opposite? That's what it Shantideva means. The purpose that you are putting for your survival, it's not really fulfilled. Instead, you create more negative. That you said purpose of your survival is to purify negative and then accumulate merit. But surviving out of anger, utilizing anger to deal with those situations and then survive, isn't it the contradicting with your purpose? That's what Shantideva means here. This is not really difficult to understand. And then the next one, Kalte Simjin Nyam Chebe, Minyan Mala Toshena, Shenla Minyan Jolang, Jutation Chite Tomiche, Made Shenla Ralebe, Teba Mela Chusena, Numonkela Ralebe, Minyan Mala Chimizus. Now that's another one method or the skills. And then what Shantideva was saying is how they translated here, 62 and 63 stanza. And if when people surrender us, we claim our anger is because they injure others. How is it we do not resent their surrenders when it's aimed at someone else? And if we bear with this antipathy because it's due to others' factor, why are we impatient when they surrender us? Defilement, after all, has been the cause of it. And this translation, I didn't really get it, honestly. I don't know this one. This one makes me a little more confused. In Tibetan, what do we say? Kalte semjen nyamjebe minyan mala toshenas. Sorts of like, if you say it, if you say it does failures being, right? Kalte semjen nyamjebe. If you say it does failure being, because if we don't respond, we may become failure, right? That's what it means. If you say, if I don't respond, then it does failures being. Therefore, it worth to anger who says unpleasant here or surrender to me. So injure is, I don't know, injure is a little bit related with the kind of like a body heart, isn't it? Not necessary?
Not necessarily when it comes to slander, because somebody can injure you by
Disdaining, by harsh word,
by taking away your reputation and your standing in the community. They can cause you injury, financial hardship.
I see. Okay, then maybe the injury is okay. But others, that makes confused, this others. This other, no needed, I think. That if you say it does failure being, therefore it worth to anger who say unpleasant here or surrender. Right? And how is it you do not resent their surrender when it's aimed to someone else? Yes, normally we do that. If it is occurs to me, oh yes, I get mad. If it is occurs to someone, none of my business. That's not my business, right? That same idea he using, Ashandideva using this idea. How is it you do not resent their surrender when it's aimed at someone else? This is very easily we will say, it's okay to not to get anger. This is because of not me, not my business. And then here, next one is the Mati Shenarale Beteba Mela Chusena. Unfaith or the dislike is depend on other. So someone disliking to someone, I will be patient. If you do, then in a similar way, why am I impatient when they surrender me? Because the defilement, after all, has been the cause of it. If you say, oh, someone kind of like what do you call it, disliking others and then creating some problems to others, for you to not difficult to be patient. But when it occurs to myself, then I have a difficult to be patient. And then that, if you say, this is completely depend on others, that there's nothing I can do. If you say so, that's what it means. If you say so, then the person who is really causing problem to yourself, that is also depending on some other factors, which is defilement. This is now, it doesn't really work for everyone. I know this idea. This idea, some people may think, what the hell is this? This doesn't make sense. We may feel that. This is actually Shantideva, the fifth skill is that what Shantideva was really saying is that if you say this is completely depend on others, therefore I have no reason to get anger. If you say so, then the person who is really creating a problem to you, that is also creating out of their kind of like a depending on something else, their defilement. That point we have to look in these skills, in these methods. So just to utilize these methods to understand it's not worth to kind of like a anger emotion. Anyway, so with that we completed this to myself. Rest of the other three circumstances or situations occur to myself, and how to think and how to control one's mind to not to get agitated out of these situations, and then how to be patient. It's shown with the Shantideva kind of like he gave us 5 different skills to deal with it. So you may need to study a little bit, okay? Point it out, all this, note it down. At the end of the chapter that we may do one test, right? Anyway, so we just stop here today. And then if you have question, we can discuss a little bit. We have 7-8 minutes. If you have question, let me know, then I can unmute you. Or you can unmute yourself, I don't know. If not, then maybe we just dedicate. Yeah, maybe no question. Everybody become very smart, understand. That's good.
Could I have some, could you please clarify, you've had conditions, you had the different stanzas listed as conditions, and then you said fifth skill. So could you please, Ricochet, name the 5 skills again so that I can check that I've got them right?
What 5 skills?
After stanza 63, you said that was the 5th skill.
Yeah, 5th skill was this 62 and 63 stanza. This 2 stanza combined, 1 skill. And then?
Yeah, well, I've still got, because I've got 50 and 51 as being the condition of pain. And then
50 and 51.
Yes.
Not 50 and 51. Today we start from 52 to 52, right? 52, stanza 52 and 53 is 1. And then 54 and 55 is 2nd. And then 56, 7, 8, 9, 4 stanza is the 3rd method. And then the 60 and 61, these 2 stanza is 1 method, 1 idea. And then 62 and 63. Okay, then we do dedication. So roll it down. Okay. Sunam de thamje zibanye thomne nye benda nam phamje ne shega nanchi walon chubai sibe zolendo ando warshu jamba jidara jemba dam kundu sambo teyan dejinde teda kunji jesu naloji gewan de da tamje rabdongo gewan de yeshe Sanam yeshe tsozone, sanam yeshe le jongwe, tamba kunyin toparajo, sanje kuz chenlam dan, chenyin minjuran dembe chenlam dan, gendun meche dembe chenlam ye, jidarang owa mel, dubarsho. Read in English. By this beneficial activity, may I obtain omniscience, and having vanquished the harmful enemies, greed, anger, delusion, may I liberate all being tossed about helplessly by the waves of birth, aging, illness, and death in the ocean of becoming, by conforming to the knowledges of courageous Manjushri, Jambalyang, and in the same way as Samandabhadra, Kundusambo, and following their example, I dedicate perfectly all these virtues. By this virtue, may all being perfectly achieve the accumulation of merit, sonam, and wisdom, yeshe, and may they thereafter obtain the 2 holy bodies which result from these 2 accumulations. by the blessing of the Buddha, Sangye, who obtained the three bodies, by the blessing of the immutable truth of the Dharmata, Chuni, by the blessing of the infallible aspiration of the Sangha, Gendin, may this prayer of dedication be accomplished just as it is. Thank you. Have a good day. See you later.